That night, we put Rashad in the bed with us. He was actually in between both of us. He was fairly young, maybe 6 weeks old. I just remember him holding the baby. And he was crying. My husband was crying. And I didn't know what exactly had happened. But I knew that he was dead. When I walked towards him and picked the baby up from him, took the baby out of his arms, I just remember how cold he was, and I don't know how else to explain it, that feeling of just like your whole world had just caved in on you.
Linda Price, like many people, believed that it was not just safe to put her baby to bed with her, but it was the loving, nurturing thing to do as well. Over the last few years, we've learned a lot about why babies die in their sleep, what we used to call SIDS, and there's no mystery about it at all.
Over the last 20 years, there really has been an evolution in an understanding of SIDS and risk factors or things that may have played a role in a child's death. SIDS really is the lack of a diagnosis. I think that there was this need to be able to put some kind of a name to these cases, specifically a death of an infant under the age of 1, where there is no specific identifiable cause of death.
What has emerged is an understanding of the role sleep environment plays in the deaths of infants. And with that, many long-held and cherished practices of moms and dads everywhere have been shown to be dangerous, putting the lives of infants at risk.
Folks need to realize that the head of a child is one of the heaviest parts of the body. And so for us, it's not that amount of effort for us to move our head to turn it around. But for an infant, especially one that's close to newborn, that's very difficult for them to do. So if they're laying on the bed face down, or if they have some covering, it's more difficult for them to turn their head in order to catch their breath.
I think when people hear about the possibility that an unsafe sleep environment played a role in a child's death, a lot of them are skeptical, and they say, I did that with my children, my parents did that with me, and I turned out fine, nothing happened. But you could make the same argument for so many other things. A lot of people rode in cars without wearing seatbelts, and they survived. A lot of children rode in cars prior to car seats, and they're fine. But there were children who died. There were people who died before seatbelts were used and before car seats were in use. And I think that's the same situation here. The expression, we know better, so we know better, so we should do better. I think it is really important here that we realize if you can prevent a child's death simply by putting that child to bed in a crib on their back without anything around them to obstruct their breathing, then why not? Why take the chance?
So what is a safe way for a baby to sleep? It's simple, really. Babies are safe when they sleep alone in a crib or bassinet that has a firm mattress where they are not too warm, and there are no bumpers, no blankets, no pillows, no toys in the crib with them. This is for every time the baby sleeps, even if it is nap time. And as parents, it's our responsibility to make sure everyone who cares for our baby knows this is the way our baby always sleeps. Terrible tragedies can happen in just a few minutes.
I had put Riley to bed before I left, and it was one of those things where I was kind of like, I really shouldn't go. I really didn't want to leave them, and he was just like, no, you need to go. They're gonna be fine, just go. While I was gone, I was just like, something's not right. Like, I could just feel it. I was home by midnight, and I walked into the house, and I walked upstairs and looked over to my left where the couch was, thinking maybe he fell asleep out there, and she was crying. I didn't hear anything. Nobody was on the couch. So I walked down to the bedroom and turned the light on, and immediately looked at the pack and play, and Riley wasn't in the pack and play. And I looked over, and Tom was in the bed with Audrina in his right arm, and then Riley was in his left arm. And Riley was turned, his arm was up, and Riley was on her side, and her face was turned into his side right here, and her right arm was stuck underneath him. So I immediately just grabbed her, and she was black and blue in the face. She was ice cold. So I started screaming.
I had fallen asleep with both of them in my arms, and I woke up to Tori screaming that Riley wasn't breathing. And my first instinct was, what are you talking about? I was like, she was screaming. She was on the phone with 911. And it was shortly after that the ambulance had showed up, and they were doing CPR on her. And that's when they had taken her out of the house, and I thought for sure, I was like, they'll bring her back. They'll bring her back. This can't happen. This can't be happening right now. And it was just the worst feeling in the world. There was nothing I could do. Because I always believe if something's wrong, I can fix it. God usually believes that if it's broken, you can fix it. This was something I couldn't fix. I couldn't even touch her.
But I've never blamed him for it. Honestly, I felt more blame on myself for not being there.
I don't see how she couldn't. I blame me. I don't see how she can say that this wasn't my fault, because it is. It's something that shouldn't have happened. I'm fine with taking the blame. It was an accident, but it's a preventable accident.